Anime studios is a very interesting topic because people are stupid. There's a level of nuance that most viewers can't really comprehend what makes a show good looking. But this video, we're gonna talk about a specific studio, a studio that doesn't sit well with normies. Because all they think about is J.C Staff. J.C Staff is a pretty recognizable name. Even if you don't know studio names, you've probably have watched a couple of shows by the studio, but they have a reputation of making a lot of projects. I mean, if you just look at fall 2024 right now, there are 8 shows ongoing and another one that's midway through, but it's delayed. Classic. There's a lot to uncover, so let's go back in time when the studio just started up. J.C Staff was founded in 1986 by a former staff member at Tatsunoko Production, Tomoyuki Miyata, who has revealed that he had a pretty horrible time in Tatsunoko, losing 2/3 of his stomach because of stress. I'm not an astrophysicist. Doctor, I mean. Even still, he was working and training new employees when he was in the hospital. And when the founder of Studio Tatsunoko died, he was one of the key members to keep the studio afloat. But in the end, he left and made J.C Staff Studio. A year after when J.C Staff was founded, they've made an OVA series called Sengoku Kitan Yotoden. It was a short 3-episode OVA. In the 90s, they really didn't make shows that was noticeable, besides like Revolutionary Girl Utena and Karekano, so there's no reason of highlighting their works in the 90s. Also, there's a lot of women in the key visuals, and you know me, I hate women. Then in the 2000s was when J.C Staff was on the map, with shows like Sakuga no Sana, Jiro no Tsukaima, Azumanga Daioh, Toradora, the Tawara series, and a lot more. Also, these 3 projects had a string effect of popularizing modern tsunderes, you can say. I'm not saying like they created tsunderes. Asuka and Lum was one of the first tsunderes in anime, I think. But similarly, those projects made tsunderes more popular, and all the tsunderes in those 3 shows was voice acted by Ria Kugimiya. Same goes in the 2010s, where I do think they were at their best with their most popular shows like Sakuraso, Golden Time, Danmachi, and again, many more. They have a genre that they focus more on. It can be like romances, isekais, action, and even comedy. Just look at Shimoneta.
See a hot chick's armpit, only it's hairy and reminds you of a pussy, so you start stroking.
Okay. The production values for older J.C Staff shows in the late 2000s and early 2010s was definitely better than now per se. There is fault on J.C Staff and just how dysfunctional the anime industry is today compared to back then. More shows are being made and the talent is spread thin. Same goes with J.C Staff's philosophy of picking too much projects than they could handle. I don't know if it was the same back then, but I mean, I could count it how many shows they made each year, but I'm lazy. Let's go to Google. People also ask, is J.C Staff good animators? Let's talk to J.C Staff. Are you good at animating? Yeah. Wow. Thank you, building. Their shows were more consistent back then, visually. Of course, adaptations is another factor. They've butchered a lot of stuff, like Index, later seasons of Food Wars, a lot more probably, and even recently with like 2.5D. It could be just not being faithful with the source material, or the quality being dog shit, but nevertheless, the quality was great back then, even for romances, like that one fight in Toradora. There's a couple of stuff I want to highlight, some key directors for J.C Staff back then. That is Hiroshi Nishikiyori and Tatsuyuki Nagai. Nishikiyori got complimented by Ikuhara himself, a director / scriptwriter, very well known for his over-the-top and intricate shows with his unique / quirky style of storyboarding and directing. Said that when Nishikiyori was working on Revolutionary Girl Utena, his storyboards were the closest to Ikuhara. In J.C Staff, he directed Azumanga Daioh, Index, and now still directing shows in the studio. The most recent one being Honey Lemon Soda, which is gonna air sometime next year. Tatsuyuki Nagai started only episode directing stuff in J.C Staff, then got the opportunity to assistant direct a show called Maburahu? Mahoraga? Then got main director roles with Hachimitsu to Clover 2, Toradora, and Railgun. He now mostly follows Okudamari a lot. If a show is scripted / series comp by her, he will likely be the director. There's a lot of other directors like Atsuko Ishizuka, who directed Sakura So, with her distinct use of very vibrant / saturated in a good way color palettes and compositing. Even when there's different people in that role, like Hane Yamata and No Game No Life, her idea / philosophies doesn't get lost with her supervision. While even sometimes shows can look pretty generic, it can still look good compared to some shows that JC Staff is producing now. Additionally, Masayuki Nonaka, an amazing animator specialized in character acting, was an in-house staff member for JC Staff back then, did a lot for shows like Sakura So or Golden Time, but now he mainly does freelance work, making a name for himself. Talking about animators, let's go through the production line. Now, there is a Holy shit. There is a couple, but I'm just gonna highlight the more important ones. Yuji Matsukura was the animation producer for Bakuman, Zero no Tsukaima, and more. Shinichiro Kashiwada animated Shigofumi, Nabara no O, and the first seasons of Railgun and Index. Kashiwada was also the reason why Nozomu Abe, a person who usually worked for Shaft and the highlight animator now for Ufotable, did work on the Tower series. Now, the two more important Anime in JC Staff now per se, Azuchi Fujishiro was Anime for Food Wars, Taiki K, One Punch Man Season 2, and some shitty isekais. This production line is a hit or miss in terms of animation. They can make the shittiest looking shows, or they can make something good like Spellbladers. I'm talking about the quality, not the show, because when everything was revealed that our main character is something else, the second half of the season was like... Although they can make some good looking stuff because the connections with some freelance animators like Kosuke Yoshida, Kazunori Ozawa, Yu Yoshiyama, and some in-house animators I'll talk about soon. Even in a high octane action show with only 6 months to produce 12 episodes, they can still pull something good, at least movement wise. Every other aspect was just pretty bad. Compositing, weird color choices, and more. And finally, you have the A-team in JC Staff. Isao Suzuki's team. This line is the best that JC Staff have, producing shows like Danmachi, Railgun, Index, Eden Zero, and many more. Even in a studio that makes too much projects that they could handle, every season, let's say Danmachi and Railgun, didn't really have any quality dips. It stayed consistent the whole way through, unlike some other ones. JC Staff in-house animators is really good. They can even carry projects by themselves. And other aspects, like most of the CG in OPM Season 2 was done by JC Staff's own CG team and Studio Moe, and the final product looked really good even in a time crunch. Some in-house animators in JC Staff has definitely made a name for themselves. Kenichiro Aoki, Yuji Takagi, Chikara Hashizune, Hiroshi Tomioka, Teppei Okuda, and some more. These couple of main action animators is the reason why most of their shows can still look very good, because they just don't make one-off appearances, they do a lot of animation and supervision. Kenichiro Aoki is that guy that can put a show on his back with the sheer amount of output he can do. In One Punch Man Season 2, he did upwards of 20 different cuts or even sequences. Half of them can be 30 seconds long. Again, in a project with very little production time. And that just goes to show these in-house staff members will consistently churn out so many cuts, making action shows and JC Staff still look very competent. But the problem with JC Staff is the abundance of projects that they can pick up. Even for a big studio, they can't really handle all of it. Although I can handle a lot of stuff. And of course they know that. They're greenlighting projects even if most of the teams are busy with other projects. So sometimes they depend a lot on outsourcing with subcontracted studios that is affiliated with them. Yes, outsourcing is not a new thing in anime. Even in really good looking projects, they still do outsource for saving resources or to make the main team in that project to do other stuff. The fear of projects / offers not coming to the studio is always in the back of the higher-ups' mind, but splitting the team to do more than one thing so the animators can't really go all out in a certain project because the staff are just spread so thin in a lot of other projects. Here's an example. The Suzuki team has Danmachi Season 5, Eden Zero Season 2, Fairy Tail, Tsukimichi Season 2. There's 4 projects that they're working on in less than a year, at least if you look at the air date. Yes, some of them might have done production, but it's by the same team working on all these shows. And that's not even including One Punch Man Season 3 that's still in production, and 2 of these projects being a consecutive 2-core anime. The main animators are just spread so thin, overlapping with all of them, so you can't really be surprised if there will be delays or just outsourcing episodes. Yes, the shows still look good, but why? Seemingly, another one is with One Punch Man Season 2. JC Staff insisted that they want to do most of the work themselves with some freelancers and other factors. Even in a tight schedule, they still produce all the episodes beside one that is episode 8, with a good line of freelance animators that most of you know now. But to put a lot of the workload to the studio, they had to sacrifice High Score Girl, another show that was produced at the same time as OPM Season 2. High Score Girl was not supposed to be 3D, but with a lot of the resources and talent put on OPM Season 2, they had to resort to 3D. Of course, there's also some bad apples in the studio. It's always that this abundance of projects being picked up is someone higher in the studio, or even worse, it's with the show The Way of the House Husband. It's no denying that JC Staff can make shitty looking shows. Don't point to my studio rankings, but this particular case is interesting, more so fucking stupid. If you've watched the show, you know that shit doesn't really move. It just looks like colored manga panels. Well, it is. It's not a Blue Lock thing that the producer just wanted to make the anime look like the manga that also moves, at least in the first season. But in this case, it was a choice, not because of tight deadlines. It was a choice. By choice. Bisexual. The producer of House Husband, which is someone in JC Staff's side, talked to Chiaki Kon, the director for the show, that he wanted to just make the show like the manga without movement and just coloring it in. Chiaki Kon can't really say anything much because, you know, the producers are the producer. So she just went with it, and in the end, the project was just a mess. It's also been said that this specific producer in JC Staff has a track record of producing these limited as moving projects because seemingly he has a hatred to 2D animation when he literally works in an animation studio that does stuff in 2D. I don't fucking know. It's not the usual JC Staff approach to shows, but it was just one single person's decision to just ruin an entire show. I hope this video gave you a better insight on JC Staff rather than people clowning the studio just because of one project, One Punch Man Season 2, or a very popular anituber that thinks that Railgun is the only good anime by them.
JC Staff,
Stupid ass bitch. I can't really talk everything about JC Staff because I'm lazy, but if you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts on JC Staff. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time.